Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's March 27th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And what looked like was going to be a range day turned out to be a pretty good trend. There's a couple of ways I would have looked at this. Once we started going lower, I would have measured this first part of the range and dropped it down and used that for a near-term target. And you can see we went a little further than that. Um, I probably would have measured. There's a couple other ways I would have looked at it too. I would have measured this leg here and compared it to this one, but you see how much bigger this leg turned out to be. But I would have also measured that leg and dropped it down here, and that gives you about the same target, and we still went a little further. But on these top two legs, I would have been using this for my target down here because that's where your support is. So that's going to be my near-term target versus measuring. I'd still measure this one just in case, but on a range, since this was a range, my near-term target's going to be the lows of the range, which is right across here. So um, that'd be the preferred. That'd be my first target. Really would be this one. And then once we made this leg down and started the next one, then of course I would measure this leg here. And then look for a possible measured leg. And you can see we actually went a little further than that. This was a relatively strong downtrend. There weren't a lot of good entries to get into it. There's a few here, but there's not a lot of them. It was really a shame that you only got one shot at this one, and then you really didn't get a very good entry after that. And it was a little slow early on. Generally, the mornings are your best trading. Seems like lately in the afternoons we've had our better trading, so it's a little different than usual. Let me back out. We'll go through the trades. There's quite a few of them today, so it's going to take a few minutes. I'm going to probably rush through them a little quicker than normal because there's so many. It's going to take a few minutes, and I need to get out of here, so I don't want to spend 30 minutes today. But anyway, uh, your bounce came right in here in the 7. This was an early morning 7 o'clock. I went back and forth about whether this one should be green or not. It is a high or low after coming off a bottom. Notice that we made that low, and it's right where we had some support yesterday afternoon. So when we pushed up here and we pulled back, if we hadn't been so close to that EMA, this would definitely be green. I may not have even marked it, but since we've already moved that quickly and that far away from the EMA, we're probably going to snap back to it. And so I did mark that one. Generally, you'd like to see a regular, you'd like to see a failed second entry short, which we don't get that till way up here. I marked this one green, but the location is kind of suspect. But you do have two legs up and it failed, and it got just enough to get a scalp. Actually, you would have continued on because it wouldn't have stopped you out, but I think this one this one got a little more. There's another one somewhere that it got just enough. But when it comes back here to the trend line and gives you a little double bottom there with a nice bullish bar, definitely like going long right there. You could look at that really as two legs back. Even though you made a little higher there, it's still two swings. This turns out to be a nice move. You actually have another pull back to the trend line here, but you're starting to get away from that EMA, and so it's a little risky. We make a new high up here. It's not quite as high as the overnight high, so you would think we were probably going higher, but notice you get two quick legs down, and then you just kind of start going sideways. There's a failed second entry long here, but again, if you draw that line off those low swings there, you're having to go short right in there, and that's kind of suspect. And that's how I got the trend line. I created it here and then drug it up, and lo and behold, we go right back to it and turn down. Unfortunately, there's a second entry short there. If it was a good signal bar on your chart, you may take that one, but it's just too bullish on mine. Plus, this is congestive like. There's a lot of bars stacked up there side by side. So you could even look at that as a failed breakout. off the possible trend line. So there's a lot of reasons to like that trade, but with that signal bar, I was afraid of it, and I'm not going to mark it on my chart. But if you had a better signal bar, that might have been a good trade. And of course, we're moving on down, and we actually get a break here, and it's just a first entry. That's a relatively strong move up there. You can see that kind of moving up. So there's no break and new high. Signal bar is not very good. Let me make this a little bigger. That's still kind of hard to see. Signal bar is not very good. My chart, it just looks terrible. It's a great move down. You do get a break there, and there is enough room to get out. But I'm probably going to wait on a a lower high here, and you just don't get it. It just takes off, and so it's one of those you just hate to see it go without you. But what are you going to do? It's gone. So and there's no setup, at least not on my chart. If yours looked a little better, then maybe. If you had a really good signal bar here, you might even say, hey, this looks, that's definitely not a failed second entry long, because you got more than a trader scalper's trade there, and there's a lot of movement straight up there. So that's just kind of one of those trades that it's kind of hard to determine what's going on. We did get a double test down here too off the midline, but midlines you got to be careful with because they fail a lot more. But not a very good signal bar again. So this thing drops on down, and we actually get an overshoot here. We actually had a break, and now we get an overshoot. Then you get a first entry, push up through the EMA, you come back, you get a second entry short, and it fails quickly. I like going long there. This one's a little aggressive because it's right into that trend line and the EMA. Although we have had a break and a new low, you could get another push down. So, but when it ticked lower again and then turned up, I'm definitely going long right there. So this one's a possibility. It's a little bit aggressive, but it is a failed second entry short. But I'm not crazy about it for the reasons I talked about. But then you get this set up, and if you might have been better off just not to do anything here, because at first it looks like it's going to be a second entry short, and it looks like it's failed, and then it looks like it's going to be a failed move up because it turns back down, but then it turns back up and keeps going back up. So that one was a little bit confusing right in there. The only thing that I would say that I like to the upside is because this thing's been coming down and you've got a break and a new low, so you may get some trap shorts in here with all these attempts to go lower that fail, and it finally turns up. So, and you can see it clearly walking up that trend line, and that's the other reason why you definitely don't want to be going short, and you should be thinking long instead of short. You also had to be a little bit concerned with that support resistance midline there, that we may be just coming back for a retest, because notice how we shot through that level here, and we tried to come back and test it, but the market was too weak. So we may be just coming back to test that before we head lower, because we just came off the high side, so you figure we're going to the low side. Only thing is we came up short on the high side, so we may come up short on the low side. That doesn't turn out to be the case because we just keep climbing higher here. You're getting too far away from the EMA, too far away from the trend line. No really good setups up here, on up here. But look what happens. You get an overshoot up here, and then you get a first entry long, and then you get a second entry long that fails instantly and turns down. Big bearish bar. I like going short there. And that's really the only opportunity you got to enter that. And it just takes off. So, and then once we were heading down, my target would be these lows here, as we talked about earlier. And notice how we bounce there a little bit before it pushes on through, and you really never get a good setup here. It comes back up to the trend line, but you got this trend line working up. Not a very good signal bar. I'd wait on a lower high. Plus you've got the support and resistance here. So when it pushes on through again and pulls back and it confirms that trend, well, the trend line's really already confirmed. But when you just get another confirmation and a nice bearish bar, I like going short right there. And when it turned back up and failed and turned back down, then you get a second entry short. If you didn't enter here, then you definitely needed to enter here. And if you had a good signal bar here, you might consider that one. But this trend had already played out, so you got a break and 2 legs down. And so this one's going to probably try to play out, especially with that support resistance right here. But you can see the resistance in this trend line wins out, and off it goes again. Then you just kind of work sideways off the midline, and you get a little failed breakout with a bearish bar. Generally, I'd want to see this come back to the trend line. But because it is a little range there, congestion, we call that congestion, but it's just congestion, just a small trading range with less bars. And you get a little failed breakout and a nice bearish bar. I like going short there. And that's another nice move down. And then it bounces here and comes back and gives you a lower high right at the midline. Nice bearish bar. I like going short there again because you're looking for it to come down to the low side now. And it does. It comes down and bounces. This one's a little bit more suspect because we just came off the low, so there's a good chance we're headed back to the high. But this thing has been very strong on the sell-off, so first entry and then a second entry short with that right off the EMA there with that bearish of a bar. That with plenty of room to get out, you may want to take that. It is a little aggressive because we did just come off the low. But it's a pretty good setup all the same. And then it works on down. And then we just kind of start going sideways. It's too dangerous to be entering anything down here because we should be headed back to the upper side. This is just kind of sideways stuff. I didn't draw the lines, but hopefully you can see that. There's some resistance across there. Can't tell if my lines are, I don't think they're quite straight. That's one of the problems I still have with my eyesight is that I have a little wrinkle in it, and it's really hard for me to tell if my lines are straight or not because of that little wrinkle. It looks like it's got a little zigzag in it to me. So that's one of the residual effects from my detached retina that's giving me a little bit of trouble. If it weren't for that, I'd almost have perfect vision back in that eye. Yeah, I'm not even close to being. That was bugging me. I could tell it didn't look right, but I couldn't figure out where to go with it. But you can see that trading range right there, and you had a little failed breakout here. If you'd had a little better signal bar, I mean, that's fairly bearish. Being the first break, you might take that one. I'd still really want to see a lower high, and you just don't really get one. It just keeps working higher. I don't have this trend line on here either. Let me get rid of this crossbar. But notice we're working down. You get a break, new low, and a nice bullish bar that confirms that trend line right there. I like taking that one. But when it comes back here again and gives you another one, I'm definitely going to enter there. And then it comes back and gives you a failed second entry short right here. Big bearish bar, but that doesn't really matter on a failure because this probably means a lot of people are getting short and it's probably going to trap people. So I like going, it's a little bit aggressive, but it is a failed second entry short and it is off a key entry point that's turned prices once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. That's the 5th time in a row. So you may take that trade. And then we're working on up here. I don't know why that's white. Should have been blue. I just must have no idea how it got. I must have just accidentally hit the white right above it. That's a second entry. Notice pullback first entry, pullback second entry, right off the EMA, right off the key entry point. And this is the one I was talking about. This one gets exactly, there's just enough room to put your buy stop 1 tick above, and scalp out with a limit order. And then look, it turns and sells off quickly. So that's why people always ask, why don't we go for more? There's a reason why we go for 4 ticks, because we've proven that we can get that consistently. So anyway, we're working back. First entry with a break of the trend line, move to a new low, and a nice bullish bar on a second entry long. And that's the first break of this 2-tiered channel. We're probably going to at least try to test that that high up there. And this thing turns out to be a spike and channel into a whole new channel. So and the way that thing took off right there, that is a huge, nice move up. I don't know if there was some kind of news item, or if that's what a trap looks like. That's what a really good trap looks like. So maybe everybody started getting short here and then suddenly realized, oops, and took off again. And I mean, that's the kind you like to catch. If you catch one trade like that, I mean, just in a matter of moments, you've moved from 2,800 to 2809, 2810. So that's 8 to 10 points right there in just a blink. And, just a couple of minutes. That's the kind of trades you like to catch. You do run up, you get a first entry, then a second entry. So that's a failed second entry short back inside this trend line when you're looking for prices to make a new high, but you've already got a new high now, and now you're taking a second entry right into a double top. Not really a good idea. But once you come back here, again, there's another second entry, not a very good signal bar, but then it comes back here and gives you another second entry and confirms that trend line. Then it's obvious you got a spike in channel. I'm taking that one. There's a higher low right here. Not a very good signal bar. You could assume, since it's got a matching low, and use that one. But again, it's right back at really down to a triple top. So I'm not crazy about that one. But it comes back and gives you a first entry. Then you come back here. You didn't make a newer low, but you made that 2-bar matching high. So that's still a higher low. When it broke above there, that's a second entry. Another nice little entry. And then it comes back here and gives you another second entry. But I'm not crazy about this one. There's a higher low here. You might consider that if you got enough room getting back to your EMA. But, I wasn't convinced we weren't going to get another leg down. This really, even though you got a little jog up right there, it looks to me too much like a little trend line working down there. But it does work higher. There's actually a failed second entry short right there, but it's right into the EMA. And then notice what happens. It pulls back up there and fails and turns down. Look how bearish that is. I like going short right there. And what you're going to look for at a minimum, like I said, that looks like one leg. So look for a measured leg, and lo and behold, that's exactly where we went to. So pretty good trading day. The afternoon was really pretty good. These days are sometimes hard for people because you got to switch gears a lot. I mean, it was so strong to the downside, and then it was relatively strong to the upside with a correction right in the middle. And that's the other thing here I forgot to mention. Whenever you see that two-legged, I consider that one leg up, and when you get that two-legged correction right there, it's usually the center of a pattern. Look for a measured move up. And that gives you a target, and guess where that target is? Right back up at the top of the range again. And coming down here, this would have been a good target for you to reach. That was another reason I forgot to mention that I didn't like that one as much, because you've already reached your target and it could tick down and turn back up. We already overshot our target a little by that point. So use those measured moves because they help. They help give you targets. They help you know where prices are likely to reverse. They're not 100%, but nothing is in trading. But if you get good at spotting them, they can give you great targets and great reversal locations. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, and we'll be back again tomorrow to wrap up our week. But I'm done for today. Hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again tomorrow, though. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.